that's really made me start to rethink the way that we do IT, to really go from being a back office order taker to a front office productivity maker is the role that we're starting to play. And when you look at this, we call this GE for GE. GE for GE is about committing to deliver $1 billion in productivity for the company between now and 2020 through the use of these new technologies. We've already delivered about 500 million of that target in this year alone, and it's coming from all places. I thought I'd just give you one quick example: fasteners. Think about bolts, nuts, washers, screws. In fact, we have 200,000 part numbers inside GE across the company that are fasteners. So you're thinking, well, what the heck does fasteners have to do with digital industrial? Well, we've developed some technology to start to connect data from our engineering systems, 3D models, from our manufacturing systems, how those parts get made, from our sourcing systems around how those parts are actually purchased and what we pay for them, to actually start to find overlap. So these models that we're developing on Predix can find like parts that have similar makeup and qualities and start to match that up with data from our enterprise systems around pricing. We spend about $250 million a year on fasteners, and we've already taken out $50 million in cost by finding duplicate parts that had different prices and like parts that had unlike prices. And so this is really where a lot of the productivity is going to come from. But to get there wasn't that easy, right? We had to start thinking differently. Instead of thinking about each business as its own individual piston in the engine, we had to start thinking about the engine as a whole. Right? Being able to compare that data across the entire company was really important to us. And the way that we started to think about this, we call the digital thread. The digital thread is about starting to stitch together all of the data that you have from birth to death for parts and for products. So from the time that we design the first part in a product, through its manufacturing, through its assembly, through its testing, through its operations, and even all of the performance statistics about how that part performs in its service life, all of that now gets stitched together in the company, not just within a business, but across the entire GE ecosystem. This allows us to start to identify how we can put products in to drive productivity. In fact, in IT, we're starting to organize around 5 product lines. Think about that like commercial, engineering, manufacturing, service, and global operations and finance. Those product lines are about then developing persona-based applications that can stitch together all of that information in a way that makes our team more productive, that makes the way they work easier. In fact, this last year, we really focused on the field engineer. Field engineers in GE are really the hardest working folks that we have. They are out in hot and harsh conditions in the middle of deserts. They're on the line with our customers. They're what really is the lifeblood of the company. And when you looked at how they had to do their job, they were literally interacting with processes across the entire value chain. In fact, from an IT perspective, 80 different systems to do their job. We said, you know, we got to change that. We've got to harness the power of Predix, which gives us the ability to link together transactions and data across the enterprise, along with a persona-based application called Field Vision that presents everything they need in a mobile, both connected and disconnected application, from drawings to work instructions, and you'll get a chance to see more of that in a demo tomorrow. The acquisition of ServiceMax even hones in further, looking at making sure we've got the right resources in the right place at the right time. So ServiceMax plus Field Vision inside GE have delivered $200 million in productivity over the last 18 months. This harnessing of data from machines, from enterprise, and stitching them together is what the digital thread is all about, and that's what's going to drive productivity. But it wasn't always that easy getting there. When you look at the lessons learned, we had to reinvent IT. We had to insource. I was over 74% outsourced. I'd given up the knowledge capital of how we run our processes and our systems. We've had to massively insource to bring that back in-house. We've had to build for the business, not for IT. These are not IT projects. These are solving large business problems with business sponsors who own their process area. And we've had to partner. Companies like PTC, who have announced a partnership this week to bring in new technology around how we visualize and how we can see how our parts are used and assembled to make the life of the field engineer more importantly. We do this as an ecosystem of partners going forward. But we're just starting, and this is really just where the transformation begins. Inside, this is no longer the IT that you were used to, who came in 20 years ago and spent 2 hours changing tapes in the morning. This is about changing business processes. This is about lean and digital and bringing those two things together with machine data in a way that was never possible before. And that's what's really going to enable the $1 billion of productivity inside the company.